Are non-citizens voting in U.S. elections? The answer is yes, they are. Is the problem as widespread as many Republicans believe it is? Well, we just don't know. But we do know that it does happen. Recently, the AP reported that Texas Democrats had sent out registration forms to non-citizens with the citizenship box checked for yes. We also learned from ABC reporting that in Texas and California, potentially thousands of non-citizens are actually registered to vote. We also have the issue of local jurisdictions trying to make it legal for non-citizens to vote in local elections. And the GOP recently passed measures blocking this. So it's safe to say, yes, there is an issue with non-citizens voting. We actually have a story of one woman who was charged because she illegally voted. So today, let's take a look at the issue of non-citizens voting in U.S. elections. But before we get started, let me give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, SafeBolt. SafeBolt is a secure email and cloud data service. They encrypt your information to protect you from prying eyes of Big Brother or anybody who just wants to steal your information. Some of the most commonly used services will actually read your emails and use it to send ads to you. One of the biggest email providers actually does this. Right now, you can get a 50% off deal by using the coupon code Tim.Pool 20% off or going to emailwithtim.com. So for those that are interested, the link will be in the description below, and I look forward to hearing your messages. From the AP, Texas Democrats asked non-citizens to register to vote, and this is from just about a week ago. The Texas Democratic Party asked non-citizens to register to vote, sending out applications to immigrants with the citizenship box already checked yes, according to new complaints filed Thursday, asking prosecutors to see what laws may have been broken. The Public Interest Legal Foundation alerted district attorneys and the Justice Department to the pre-checked applications and also included a signed affidavit from a man who said some of his relatives who aren't citizens received the mailing. This is how the Texas Democratic Party is inviting foreign influence in an election in a federal election cycle, said Logan Churchwell, spokesman for the PILF, a group that's made its mark policing states' voter registration practices. The organization sent complaints to Hidalgo and Starr counties in Texas, complete with the affidavit and photos of the pre-marked voter applications. The return address for the mailings was the State Democratic Executive Committee with an address in Austin that matches the State Democratic Party's headquarters. The letter is emblazoned with urgent. Your voter registration deadline is October 9. It continues. Your voter registration application is inside. Complete, sign, and return it today. On the application, boxes affirming the applicant is both 18 and a U.S. citizen are already checked with an X in the yes field. The mailing also urges those who are unsure if they are registered to mail it in. Party officials didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Sam Taylor, spokesman for the Texas Secretary of State, said in the run-up to the deadline, they received a pretty large volume of calls from residents who had gotten the mailing. Some were non-citizens who were wondering whether the mailing meant there had been some change and they were now in fact able to vote. In other cases, people told the office mail was addressed to deceased relatives, including in some cases, people who'd long been dead. It looks like a case of really bad information they are using to send out these mailers, Mr. Taylor said. And surprisingly, this is playing into not just one story, but a couple. The idea that deceased people are being registered to vote and that non-citizens are being registered to vote, because it looks like there is some evidence to suggest that may be true. The numbers aren't necessarily staggering. It's not like we have millions of people, but it is happening. But now let's take a look at what ABC reported back in August, that non-citizens were actually registered to vote on more than one occasion. According to ABC, non-citizens registered to vote in Texas, some cast ballots. Hundreds, if not thousands, of non-U.S. citizens are registered to vote in Texas, and some have cast ballots in elections, WFAA discovered. What's interesting is that this story is from August, and what we're learning about the mailers that were just sent out is from only a few days ago, which means there have been people who are not citizens registered to vote for a while now, even before these mailings were sent out. We now know for sure that non-citizens are voting. The question is how many and how big of an issue it is, said State Senator Don Huffines, R. Dallas. Direct Action Texas, a conservative grassroots organization, originally made the claim at a news conference in Farmers Branch last week. Turns out it's true. Non-citizens are registered to vote in Texas, and the bureaucracy is partially to blame. The Texas Secretary of State said efforts are underway right now to improve the voter database and determine the exact number of non-citizens currently eligible to vote. We think it's very likely we've had non-citizens cast ballots, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said. We had that in Tarrant County. We prosecuted somebody who had done that, and they ended up in prison for 8 years. Rosa Ortega, 37, is the mother from Mexico who received the 8-year sentence. Ortega is a green card holder who said she twice voted for Republicans. But Ortega told the judge who sentenced her that she didn't understand she could not vote. In a May email, Dallas County Elections Administrator Tim.Pool revealed a sliver of the problem after Huffines requested data. In an email to the senator, Pool wrote that since 2011, 174 voter registrations have been canceled for non-citizenship. Of those 174 canceled for non-citizenship, 22 voted in 38 various elections. Election dates range from 3/8/1988 to 11/8/2016. Here's the worst part. The woman who was sentenced to prison probably didn't know she was doing anything wrong. She may have received a mailer saying, you should register to vote, and you can. As we learned from the AP story, many people were calling in confused, thinking that something had changed and they were now eligible to vote. Is that what happened with this 37-year-old woman? I can't necessarily blame the individual if they receive what looks like official mail saying you are allowed to vote, and then going and voting. It's crazy that she's getting 8 years in prison for it, but election security is a huge issue, and at the end of the day, the responsibility falls on the individual to know whether or not they're breaking the law. I do believe some leniency is in order for this woman, especially now that we're learning the Democrats were sending out these forms to non-citizens who probably didn't understand it was from a political party. I'm sure some of them did, but just think about it. There's probably some people who are here legally, who have green cards, who have no idea what this means and don't realize it's not an official document. So they mail it in, they go and vote, and then it turns out they broke the law. Some of the responsibility has to fall on the people who are sending these migrants, these legal residents, forms telling them they can vote. It wasn't just Texas. According to ABC News, 1,500 non-citizens may have been registered to vote in California DMV error. The Department of Motor Vehicles admitted Monday a mistake caused as many as 1,500 non-citizens being registered to vote in the state. The agency was alerted to the mistake when Randall Marquis, a Canadian citizen and legal permanent resident in the U.S., went to the Los Angeles Times to tell them about receiving a piece of mail from the DMV saying he was registered to vote. I'm sure there are many non-citizens who know full well they shouldn't be voting who do. We've seen from these stories that there are major errors. We've seen from the Associated Press, I can't stress this enough, that the Texas Democratic Party was sending out mailers that had people checked off as citizens, and even deceased people were receiving these letters. Could this be an error? Absolutely. Maybe the Democratic Party is just really bad at what they do. Could it be deliberate? It could be. We don't really have evidence to suggest whether or not it was an accident or not, but they're still responsible for sending out mailers to deceased people and non-citizens. That's a pretty crazy story when you hear it. However, it's not in the millions, so we don't know how bad this problem is. But when we look at Texas, when we look at California and see that there are multiple instances of these errors, it sounds like it might actually have an impact. Think about what happened in the 2000 election. Only a couple hundred votes swayed a presidential election. So this really does matter. Each vote does count. But outside of federal elections, there are also local jurisdictions that are pushing for non-citizens to have the right to vote. Most notably San Francisco. From the LA Times, San Francisco will allow non-citizens to vote in a local election, creating a new immigration flashpoint. Non-citizens, including those without legal status, will be allowed to vote only in a school board race, and just a little more than 40 have registered to vote so far. Still, the decision carries major symbolic force and has become the latest punching bag for conservatives who already are using California's efforts to protect people in this country illegally from President Trump's immigration crackdown as a political issue in the midterm election. California has gone further than any other state in offering opportunities to those here illegally, including providing special driver's licenses, college tuition breaks, and child health care. Voting has been a more sensitive topic, but experts said it fits both the larger political trends in California as well as the conservative backlash. It's not just San Francisco, New York, Boston, Portland, Maine. There are many cities that want to allow non-citizens the right to vote in some elections, even illegal immigrants. And because of this, the GOP has passed a symbolic resolution opposing these efforts. From NBC News, September 26th, House Republicans overwhelmingly passed a non-binding resolution Wednesday opposing undocumented immigrants voting in U.S. elections, including in cities where laws have allowed non-citizens the chance to participate in local elections. Although the House resolution has no force of law, it has raised a larger question about who should be able to vote and whether the bitterly partisan immigration debate may soon reach the lowest rungs of government. They say in the story that 49 Democrats joined Republicans in declaring that allowing illegal immigrants the right to vote devalues the franchise and diminishes diminishes the voting power of the United States citizens. But there are still Democrats who opposed this, which shows us that, look, Republicans overwhelmingly don't want non-citizens voting, and they think it's a huge issue. And the Democrats seem to care much less. Though many Democrats did join the Republicans in this resolution, it's the Democrats who tend to believe that voter fraud isn't an issue. But there are still problems, and non-citizens still vote, even when they're not legally allowed to. While I wouldn't say that millions of illegal immigrants are voting in our elections, we can see that at least some are. In San Francisco, about 40 have registered to vote, even though they're here illegally. And now with Democrats saying that we should just allow many people in through the borders and we should reform immigration, we can see the path things are taking. That the Democrats are going to continue allow people to just come into the country, offer them status, and then even in some circumstances, offer them the right to vote. All I can really say is that citizenship comes with responsibility. And there is a reason why non-citizens do not have the right to vote. Because there are people who are born here, who are part of American culture, who believe in the Constitution and believe in certain things, and they have a right, when they pay taxes, to participate in public. When people move here, they begin paying taxes, but they haven't yet proven their loyalty to the Constitution or to this country. And it's really important because there are probably a lot of people who want to come to this country who don't like it and would love the opportunity to sway our government and make them do things that the citizens here probably would not like. What's interesting is that we often hear about election meddling and foreign influence. Many people on the left are concerned with Russian meddling and now Iranian meddling. But what about foreign citizens who are coming here and then trying to vote illegally? Again, it might not be in the millions. I don't think we have evidence to prove that. But we can see that some actually are voting, at least sometimes. And we can see that local jurisdictions are granting rights to vote to illegal immigrants, in which case we are going to see foreign influence in our elections. All of it should be called out. Should we call out Russian meddling? Of course we should. Should we call out non-citizens voting in our elections? 100%. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll keep the conversation going. I know people on the left like to claim this never happens, but it really does. Now, the right likes to claim it's in the millions, but we can't prove that. We can say it happens sometimes. We can say that in Texas and California, the number may be in the thousands, and that we do know some people have actually been imprisoned for voting illegally. So again, comment below, we'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast. Stay tuned, new videos every day at 4 p.m. and more videos coming up on my second channel, youtube.com/TimcastNews, starting at 6 p.m. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.